We're going to be going to go over my top schizophrenia moments. I know I shouldn't word it like that, but it's pretty much what it is. It's pretty much my not really my scariest schizophrenia moments, but like the times when I was pretty much out of reality the most. That's pretty much what this stream is going to be about. Pretty much my top 5 psychosis moments. But the first one I wanted to talk about was my reoccurring theme of like the devil coming to get me. This one has happened like quite a bit. And so like the way it's happened to me, like I'm not saying this is for all people with schizophrenia, but this is just my case. It sort of slowly comes on, and then I start hearing his voice, like I start thinking I hear his voice in my head, and then I'll eventually see him at one point, or I start seeing like flames or something like devil related, and just it's sort of a slow, like, and then all of a sudden it's exponential. But the voice is usually a pretty darker, like deeper tone voice, and it's like kind of a raspy voice, and just kind of like it's very distinct. It's usually the same voice each time. It doesn't usually change that much, and the voice is pretty scary. I don't know if it's something out of a movie that my brain has just like kind of locked onto and just remembered, and that's what the devil voice sounds like in my head. But it's a very distinct voice, and it's a male voice for one. Most of my, or pretty much all my voices in my head are male. That's probably the scariest one out of these ones I'm going to be going over today, because a lot of the ones including the devil include him like wanting to take me down to hell. And so like they're pretty scary when they do happen, especially when I do start to see him coming into my room. And when he comes into my room, he doesn't necessarily have the same form every time. He like sometimes he looks like kind of like a man. Sometimes he kind of looks almost like a man dog kind of thing. I don't know, like, but he's always red. He's always red. It's pretty realistic looking. Like, it's not like a ghostly figure or anything. It's just like you can tell, like I can tell he's there. It's pretty distinct when it comes to the devil, and like it's what a basic devil would look like. Like that's the only way I can really describe it. It's like if you know like what a basic devil would look like with like the red and the horns and everything. Like, that's what it would kind of look like. So let's move on to the next one. When I start thinking people are, like, talking to me, like, directly from the TV, like, this one's happened to me quite a bit. I don't usually share it because, like, I don't know, just people think I'm crazy, which I kind of am, but this one I usually know. Like, for some reason, this one I can tell they're, like, not actually like, I know it's not real, but I can hear them talking. I think they're saying like my name and everything. And for some reason, I think they're actually talking to me. And for some reason, I'm like, I know this is a hallucination. I need to take my medication, but why are they talking to me? This is annoying. Like, I know this is hallucination, because that's the thing about like my hallucinations is like, I know a good amount of them. I know they're hallucinations. Like, I don't go completely out of reality, like, like very quickly, and so like I can tell like when something's going wrong and I need to take medication. Sometimes my brain tells me not to, but I usually can like get myself to medication before it gets too bad. I've timed my hallucinations before, and they usually last about half an hour by the time like I get medication to me. So like they usually happen around the middle of the day to nighttime. Like, they don't usually happen in the mornings. So that's why when I want to get stuff done, I usually do stuff in the morning times, because that's just usually when I'm at my best. But I think it's because I'm more well rested in the morning time personally. But when people are talking to me from like the TV and stuff, and like I think they're talking to me from the TV, it's like it's really weird because they're very direct, and like they never make any sense. Like, it's never like coherent speech. Like I guess it is coherent because I can understand what they're saying, but like it never has to do with the show. Like, it's usually just like the words changed into something like completely different. Say I'm watching the news or something, they'll be talking about space or something all of a sudden now. Like, they're just something completely different. Like, if I'm watching the news and they're talking about some world problem, and all of a sudden they're now talking about like space or aliens or something. Like, that's the thing about my episodes. I don't understand why the hell it's always aliens. It's like, it's just something they're always the same reoccurring stuff. Because like I mentioned the devil before, like he's reoccurring. Aliens are hugely reoccurring. Like, because my medications, like My medications, like, I don't want you to get the idea that my medications don't have me under control, because like they do, but like when I do get hallucinations, it's usually pretty bad kind of thing. But then I have, for number three one, it's kind of like the opposite of the devil. It's like I literally see a guy who I think is Jesus, and like he'll come and talk to me sometimes. Like he'll come and talk to me sometimes, or I think I'm talking to Jesus. Like, which this one like is kind of comforting, because I don't know, like I'm kind of a religious person, but like, so this one's kind of harder for me to wrap my head around. So that's why I put it on here, but I wasn't sure if I should put it on here. Like, what if Jesus was kind of talking to me? Because like, I don't know, because I'm kind of religious, and just like, I know it sounds strange. It sounds like I'm hallucinating right now. It just coming from a religious standpoint, it does sound likely, but coming from like a scientific standpoint, it's not possible. And so like, it's just kind of a hard one to like determine. And like, I guess you could say the same thing for the devil, but like, it's just a little bit different. And so like, I've had times where like, I think like, it's usually when I'm in panic mode, and like I'll have someone who I think is Jesus like come and talk to me, and then I like start talking to him. It's like my brain, like I'll be super like filled with anxiety, and all of a sudden I get pushed over the edge, and all of a sudden I see someone who I think is Jesus, like a very stereotypical Jesus looking figure, come and talk to me, or I hear a Jesus voice in my head. I recognize, like, if I were to see some of these people like that I see in like some of my hallucinations, like I would recognize them. Like, I've dreamed about them before, and like, it's like they've showed up in my dreams before, and I've recognized them. It's kind of scared me a little bit, but yeah. And then as far as like, this next one is probably the scariest one I've like actually done something in. It's probably when I almost went to California. Like, I live a few states away, and this one was just a random psychosis event. For some reason, I was just like done with everything around me. Like, I thought I was going to go live in California. I was going to go play baseball for the Los Angeles Angels. Like, for some reason that was going to work out. And like, I was just going to take my dog, and I was just going to go to California. Like, just follow the highway and just go to California. And like, I don't know why that one like ended up like that way, because like, it didn't make much, like, I guess because like hallucinations, they don't make sense at all. Like, it's just your brain like doing that. But like, I like, it comforts me when I try to make sense of them, because I like to try to make sense of them, because it like makes me feel just a little bit less crazy. Because when my brain does things that are just completely like out of whack, it kind of makes me feel bad, because it makes me feel like I'm just that much more crazy. Like, even though I know I'm not like crazy, so to say, like I just have some problems, but like I try to make sense of them, and it's hard to make sense of some of them. And so like, it's just a coping mechanism, I guess, because it's just really hard to cope with something like this. And because out of all the things I've had to cope with in my life, schizophrenia definitely has been the hardest one I've had to cope with. Even like with death and like sickness and like everything, it's still like, it's very difficult to cope with schizophrenia, because like in my case, there was like no reason behind it. So there was nothing I could like blame it on. Like, I didn't do drugs beforehand. Like, I didn't have any like really trauma or anything like that. So like, it just makes it that much harder like to like kind of reason with it. Like, especially like when I do stuff like that, where I almost went to California, I start packing my bags and going and the only reason I didn't go was because I called my mom, and then I didn't go. But like, it's just one of those things, like sure there's probably some genetic reason or something like that, but there's like nothing that's like blatant, like this is the reason. Top one is probably the first big psychosis event I had. It's when I thought that there was a war on Pluto, and I had to go stop it. So this is the way the hallucinations and delusions went. So there was a character named Jack. He was kind of an older fellow, had a little bit of a beard, and just kind of like wrinkly face and everything like that. He looked kind of like Santa Claus, but like with a dark beard. He would come into my room like sometimes, like more than once, and just tell me about the stories of Pluto. And just like, I won't get too much into it, but like, it was very complex the way this story went. Like, just as far as like the whole story of Pluto, and there was like other characters of people trying to take over Pluto. There's a guy named Io, like YEO, and like he was trying to take over Pluto, and just it was just overall just like a very fascinating to me that my brain could come up with something that intricate. I could remember it all, and it would come to me from day to day, and it like I would like when I started working with doctors, like it would stay the same even when I was like working with medication, like. And then eventually it went away, like, because I didn't even know how I was supposed to get there or anything. I was like, they just wanted me, like, they just, like, you need to go to Pluto and go help out this war. There's an evil man named Yeo taking out the Plutonians, and you're the chosen one. And I'm like, bro, okay. Make sure to subscribe if you want me to go more in depth about my schizophrenic episodes, or if you just want to learn more about schizophrenia. And thank you for watching. Until next time, see you later.